Hey, welcome back. Okay, so in this video, we're going to add a new material to our world that we created in our last video, which was the world that we set up in World Machine after we pulled the data off of a NASA website and ran it through MicroDem. So in that process, we also made some slope maps that are going to help us with putting on our textures inside of Unreal Engine. All right, so if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can check it out here at Putting on the Fritz 3D Visualization. Check out the other landscape videos for this one. We made the material functions in video number 1, and then we put it into a different material. This time we're going to use those same material functions. We're going to modify them just a little bit, and then we're going to create a new material to put onto our new world. All right, so check out my channel and get caught up. So let me go ahead and hide my face here, jump out of all of this. All right, so this was the world left over from last time, and right now you see a bunch of purple triangles on it. This is actually set up here in Show, and I have right now my collision selected, so that we can kind of see what the terrain looks like and see how our collision map is going to line up with our world. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is if we take a look at my previous example here, this one, we have some slight issues where our collision and our actual surface area of our world is not lining up, and that's causing my rocks to hover above the ground, trees and things like that. Now, this is just on some of the extreme peak areas outside of what could possibly be the play area, and so it would not be noticed if we were all the way down here. But when our character does try to run up this particular incline, if we had it, you can see that our character actually is embedded into here because our collider is underneath this terrain, and then as we run up, kind of run into this situation. All right, and that is because of our collision being tied to our mesh. Now, I'm not sure how to actually fix this, and this particular issue, I believe, is because we've really pushed this map. Now, remember, this was a 1K map done the same way that we did, so our 1 kilometer map did the same way that we did in the last video, but I pushed this one all the way out to 8 kilometers, okay? So if we take a look at the world partition here, you can see I pushed this one all the way out, and that may be one of the constraints. We start to lose fidelity of all of our vertices, and it starts to try to tie these things together, as you can see with these purple lines here. So just keep that in mind. Another reason why if you start to make large worlds and you really want it to be part of your game, that you may need to watch out for things like this. Hopefully I can come up with a fix for this, but at this point I do not know what to do for it other than to just block it out so that the player can't go up there. All right, so let me go ahead and move this out of the way. With that said, let's go ahead and with this smaller one that is our 4 kilometer by 4 kilometer world that we made last time, as you can see here, and our updated map. At this point, I don't see any of those same issues. I've kind of explored around a little bit, and I haven't seen any places where it looks like their triangles just are not lining up with the terrain. Now, I haven't obviously run everywhere in this entire world, but some of the same or similar terrain, I'm not seeing that here. So with that, let's go ahead and continue on and get our materials made up. All right, so down here in my content drawer, and the reason why I used the same landscape one as I did last time, our landscape project, is because our materials are already in here, and our material functions are in here as well. Okay, now there's some things we need to do to prepare these for the massive expansion we did of this terrain here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my dirt one since it's in alphabetical order. I'm going to double click on it. We're going to open it up. And one of the things I forgot to do last time, which was not really detrimental to that material because we only had 3 of these different textures, material functions added into it, but it will cause a problem in this particular material. And the reason is, if we select our texture variations right here, and we select the little texture itself, what we didn't do is I didn't tell you to change the sampler source for this particular node, because I didn't think about it, forgot about it for one reason. But we want to do that because this will limit us to only being able to have 3 different textures set up on our material. If we want more than that, we have to actually go in and change the default settings. So if we select all 3 of these by holding the control button and just click on all 3 of them, over here on the left hand side under the details, we're going to find the one that says sampler source. It's under our material expression. Under sampler source, if we hit the down arrow, we want to do shared wrap, okay? And that will make it so that we can do that. We also want to double check to make sure that these textures, now these parameter 2Ds, I believe they may have defaulted to shared wrap. I'm not 100% sure that they did, so we want to double check to make sure they did, and just kind of click on them. All right, make sure that they're good. And again, you can select multiples at a time. So if you wanted to, you could just go through and hold the shift button or the control button, and we can select multiples. Okay, and then you can just change this all at once to shared wrap. Okay, and actually that one right there is not done correctly. That one's a shared wrap. Interesting. Okay, so that's why we got to go through and double check to make sure they're all changed. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and select them all. Do shared wrap, just like that. Okay. All right. The other thing we need to do, and we're going to do it on this one real quick first, is we're also going to modify our far view controller right here. I've never, in this particular material, the function that we created in the material, I didn't really like the way the far view kind of set up sometimes with some of the textures that we used for it. So I wanted to be able to put in a way to control it, kind of like we do here with the tiling for our close view. And we're not going to actually do a tiling type setup. Instead, what I want to do is just kind of make a scaling, and it's going to really kind of mess up this way that texture looks right there. But so let me pull this up real quick. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a parameter similar to this one. So I'm just going to click on this one, and I'm going to do a Control D down here. So select this parameter, hit Control D. Now before we make any changes, you got to make sure you change the name of it. Otherwise, they will both change exactly the same anytime we change anything in it. So this one, I'm just going to call this Adjust Dirt. Okay, and for the family that's going to go on, instead of being in tiling, we're going to adjust, call this Adjust Far Texture. Okay. All right. And we're going to also change our default value here to 1. Okay. And then we're going to put in a slider min of 0.0001, and we're going to put a max in down here of 1. Okay, so we're going to control how much we can actually change this, and the decimal amount is the important piece of it. Okay, and we want to be able to go as far out as we can, but we don't want to divide by 0, because that's what we're going to use. We're going to use a divide node up here. So if you hold down the D button and left mouse click, you'll get this divide, and we're going to move over the top of this. We're going to hover over this and hold down the control button. So if you hold down the control button and you hover over that node, you get a little hand. Left click and hold it. Do not let it go. Left click and hold it and drag it over here. And when you get that little check mark, then you can let go. Okay? Let go both the control button and the left mouse button. And now we've got that node connected up here. We're going to go ahead and plug this one into A. And then we're going to divide it by these numbers here. There we go. All right. And now you'll see that it's kind of really blanked this out right here, but it's not going to change the way our material function works at this point in time. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to select both these nodes, so both the divide node and the dirt mode, and hit Control C to copy it. Don't forget to save this. We want to save this. Okay, and now I'm going to park this one up here, and I'm going to open up my other two material functions, my grass and my rock. Okay, I'm going to select back on my grass, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to hit Control V to paste that in there, and then I'm going to select up my material function for my rock. Scroll back over and do a Control V here, kind of move it up a little bit. So we have them both there. Okay, now everything's all set up with all those same numbers. We just got to go back in and rename it. So let's go back to our material function for our grass first. Again, before I come back and change anything with these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my textures are set up. Okay. So that I select all of those, and I'm going to change them to shared wrap. Okay. And then I'm just going to select all of these. And again, make them shared wrap. Okay. And now this adjust dirt, I'm going to change its name from adjust dirt to adjust grass. Hit enter. I'm going to go ahead and hover over this, hold the control button, get my little hand, left mouse, click and hold, drag it over to the little node and let go of it when I got the check mark. And I'm going to make this connection. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and save it. Okay. Now this one should be all set up, and we're going to do the same thing for the rock. Okay. So again, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to select all of these, change them to shared wrap, and then I'm going to go in over here and select all these. Okay, make sure they're all selected, and we're going to go shared wrap. Scroll in, hold the control button, get my little hand, hold the mouse button down, left mouse button, get that in there, connect that up. Okay, and this one's still called adjust dirt, so we're going to fix that real quick. We're going to call this adjust rock. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and save it. Okay. All right, so all that's been done, and now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go in and to my content drawer, and I'm going to make a couple more of these, and it doesn't matter which one. Just pick one, and then I'm going to do a Control D to duplicate it. And for this one, that's rock. I'm going to rename this one snow. Okay, I'm going to double click on snow, open it up. Okay, and as we did before, we're going to have to rename each one of these different nodes. So instead of rock rotation, this is going to be snow. Okay. Each of these need to be renamed snow. But I'm going to change this first. Okay. And this one as well. I'm going to adjust snow. Now we may not need to actually adjust the snow one, but we're just going to put it in here. Okay. Now there's a couple other things we're going to do to snow. First, actually, let's go ahead and change all of these. I should probably do this a faster way. Okay. And oh, we're going to need to actually also create our own. I lost it. Oh, there it is. All right, under material expression, we're going to add this to snow. Okay. All right, so now just go through the process of changing all these. Okay. We're going to do that for each one of these. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause while I finish mine up and let you also work on yours. Okay, so I went ahead and I've got all these finished up. We've got all these changes. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to bypass for snow this this particular texturing that we have in here. Okay, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and we don't want to have this type of texturing, macro texturing, appear on our snow when we see it from a distance or when we get up close to it. And the snow I'm going to use shouldn't show up as tiling anyhow. So what I'm going to do is right here where it says the lerp for my snow albedo right there where we have the texture fed into it, we're going to just bypass it and we're going to plug that right into albedo. That's going to disconnect that node right there. And we're just going to go ahead and stay safe. All right, so now the snow one is all set up. So we're going to do this. I'm going to do this 2 more times, okay? And we're going to add in a mud, and we're going to also add in a. We're also going to add in like a path, okay? So I'm going to select my rock again. I'm going to hit Control V, actually Control D rather. Duplicate it. We're going to call this one mud. Okay. All right. And then for this one, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to rename all of our nodes, okay, for mud. And then we're going to rename all of our textures for mud along here as well. Okay. And that should finish that one up. And then we're going to do a last one, and we're going to name it path, okay? And we'll change all of these. And the reason why I'm just going to call it path is because that's going to leave us open to use a different type of material that I haven't selected yet to make a kind of a walking path or like a dirt road or something like that. Yeah, so that'll go ahead and jump ahead and make that one if you want as well. I'm going to pause again while I complete this one. Okay, I've gone ahead and corrected all these. Don't forget inside your textures to go ahead and change the group for mud as well so that it shows up in its own group. Your mud rotation over here. And we are not going to disconnect this. Okay, this is not, we're going to go ahead and keep that particular texturing happening. All right, don't forget to save. Go ahead and save all. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and create one more like I said. I'm going to select my rock again. I'm going to do a Control D, duplicate it. And this one, I'm just going to call material function, and I'll just call it path. Okay. Again, double click on it. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to change all of this. We're going to leave this, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and pause again. All right, so now path should be all finished. Path tiling, adjust path, path. Don't forget again to go in and change your groups to path and change your rotation over here. And again, we're leaving this. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so now we've got all of our stuff set up. So let's go ahead and make that material. Okay, so this is actually going to be pretty simple. We're going to go ahead and go in here. We're going to go back up to materials, and I'm going to go into my master materials here, double click, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to go ahead and select material, okay, and we're going to call this one M underscore, and this is going to be my master, and I'm just going to call this Aspen for my world, okay, master Aspen. Yeah, that'll work. I'll just call it Master Aspen, okay? So whatever you named your world, of course, you're going to want to name it that. Can only have so many landscapes. Apparently, I forgot the E on that one. All right, so we'll double-click on it and open it up, okay? And this is what it's going to look like. So now what we want to do is we're going to add in a break material attributes. So I'm going to right click, type in break material, okay, and we're going to break material attributes. Boom. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is we're going to right click and we're going to get a layer, and we want layer blend, okay, material layer blend. Okay. Oh, sorry. Is it landscape? Landscape layer blend. This is the one we want right here. All right, so we want a landscape layer blend, okay? Right now there are no attributes into it, so we can't plug anything into it. And that's because we need to create those over here, okay? So I'm going to hit the plus symbol for the number, and I'm actually going to jump over there real quick. I'm going to go into my material functions. We're going to double click on these. And I'm going to go ahead and select all of them. I'm going to click and drag and drop them into here. Okay. So this is the number that we need. We need 6 of them. So there's dirt, grass, okay. And we can put them closer together, but all right, so there we go. So now for our layer blend, when we click on it, we're going to come back over here and we're going to want to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 array elements, okay? And we're going to start here with index 0. We're going to hit the down arrow, okay? And we're going to name this top one. We're going to go ahead and call this one dirt, okay? And see how it changed the name over here, layer dirt. So we're going to do that for each one of these. And just double check on any elements I may have added weight to. Okay, we're going to make sure that they are LB weight blend. And we're going to leave the rest of this default for all of these. Okay, so I got dirt named. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to index 1, and that's going to be grass. Okay, make sure you spell it correctly. Only because later on when we go to do some stuff with terrain, with actually adding in foliage, we're going to want to make sure we have that done correctly. So the next one's going to be mud. Okay. Next one is going to be path. I want to put path there. It really shouldn't matter, but since I'm going to want to make sure that my main materials stay in order here, I'm going to go ahead and bump rock up above this, I think. So sorry about that, if you've already kind of started doing that. Then I'm going to put mud, path, and snow down here on the bottom. So I'm going to go back to my third one in my layer blend and change it from mud to rock. So my index number 2, I'm going to change it from mud to rock. Okay. And then the next one down will be, index 3 will be mud. Okay. And then path. And the last one is going to be snow. Okay, so now we've got all of those set up. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and connect them up. Connect everything up. Okay. Grass to grass. Snow to snow. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect in this attribute here. And then we're going to connect our base color. We're going to want that. We've got some metallic controls, so we're going to put metallic on there. We're going to put some roughness here. Specular we may come back and add. I'm not sure that I want that right now. Normal, we're going to need our normals. We may use world position offset at some point. We'll see. And then my ambient occlusion as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay. I'll just do file, save all. All right. So now we've got our material made. I'm going to jump back over here to my world. I'm going to turn off these grids for my collision, so it looks like this. Okay. And I'm going to select my landscape. I'm going to go to my details here. I'm going to go down to my content drawer, back to my materials, and this new master material we made, you kind of see how it looks all funky like that. I'm going to go ahead and right click on it, and I'm going to go ahead and make a material instance out of it. So create material instance. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and at the very beginning type an I right after the M, so it's MI for material instance. All right. And now I'm going to double click and I'm going to open this up. Okay. So we should see where we have dirt, grass, mud, path, rock, snow. All of our tiling is in here for each of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need just to go and find the different materials that we want to use in each of these. Okay. So again, I'm going to go ahead and open up my window up here and open up Quixel Bridge. Maybe. There we go. Okay. Make sure you're signed in. Okay. And if you're not, make sure you sign in. Click the image containing a hedgehog. Guess they assume you know what a hedgehog is. Wow. Some of these pictures are so bad you can't even tell what they are. And it's like almost every single picture. I can't tell what this first one is. All right, must have worked. It looks like I'm signed in now. All right. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to find things for each of those surfaces, okay? And I've shown you bridge multiple times in other videos, and I'm hoping that you've used it before, so you can skip ahead of me searching around for this stuff. I'm actually going to pause here in a minute, but for anybody who's new and hasn't done this before, once you have bridge open, okay, we're going to be looking for surfaces right now, okay? So right here where it says surfaces, I'm going to click on surfaces. And you can also, if you know that there's like a look that you want, you can come down here to collections, and you can click on collections and then kind of look through. And there's a bunch of different topics that you can find in here. And I am going to see, I thought they had one that was... Oh, here it is right here. The one that says environment. I'm going to select environment. I'm going to go with natural. Okay. And I'm going to make a forest type area out of this. Let's see if there's something already set up. It's called a broadleaf forest, Nordic forest. Pine essentials. Well, I'm going to do pine, but... see what this looks like. I'm probably not going to use any of those trees, but they have a bunch of different materials that that'll work, and they also have a tree set up. Now Now I picked my area in Aspen, Colorado. I'm not seeing a lot of stuff. But, so for my ground area in, I think maybe a forest floor will work. Rocky wild grass. This goes a little less. So there's a lot of repetitiveness in this, and when they tile it together, it's going to become very obvious. But I'm going to try this one. I may not like it, but we'll see how it goes. All right, I'm going to download it. So again, if this is the first time you're watching it, you click, after you sign in, get it all set up, you click to download. Okay, and then once it's done downloading, you can export it. And I'm hoping it's going to go into my correct project. Why? Go away. So it's going to go into your Megascans folder. Why are you still up here? Go away. Okay, and it goes into your Megascans, into your surfaces, and this should be forest ground that I just downloaded. Yes, that is it. Okay, so it's going in the right folder. Okay, so that's the process of finding material that you want and download them. And you can download some extra ones just in case you don't like the way something looks. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. I'm going to pause so that we don't get too long on this video. And I'll come back after I've got my 6 different materials selected. Okay, so now I've got all of my materials. I think I got them all. And extra one here. So I'm going to go back into my material instance. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an extra content drawer. So I'm going to go up here to Window. And I'm going to content browser. I'm going to pull this one up. Okay. And this will make it easier for me to go through and to select these as I go along. All right. So for my dirt, I was going to pick. What was I going to pick? So that's not it. Going to pick this gravel ground, I think, and you can always go back and change these as you move along. All right, so over here I'm going to grab my dirt albedo, the ARD, and my normal. Okay, so for my first one I'm going to select the texture and I'm going to hit the little arrow here. Okay, for my normal, which is the bottom one down here, I'm going to select it and hit the arrow, and then this is my ORD or ARD, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. Okay, and we're going to get a little warning up here. It'll be okay. All right, so that one's done. So now I'm going to move on to my grass, okay? So go back into my surfaces, and I think I wanted to use... That actually might have been my dirt. Sorry, as I jump around here trying to decide what's what, as I look around trying to find, oh, there is wild grass. Okay, so there's my wild grass. So I'm going to go ahead and again, same thing, albedo, ARD, and normal. Select the texture for the albedo, okay, which is the colored texture. Then the blue one is your normal. And then the ORD is the one that's going to go here, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause again as I finish this out. And let you work as along as well. Okay, so hopefully you've got all your textures in there, and it wasn't a big issue. Now I'm going to go ahead and uncheck tiling for all these because we're going to have to come back and fix all of this. And the other thing we want to make sure that we have available for us should be our adjust, our dirt grass, mud, our path, our rock, and our snow. Okay, so we have all those in there, and everything else has been loaded. I'm going to close that browser out. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go ahead and save this, actually. Save, file, save all. One of the things I've noticed is over the Unreal Engine 5, I'm going to go back to all of these material functions. I'm going to just hit save individually on them, just to make sure the textures update. My material, hit save. Save all should catch it all, but for some reason it's not been dependable. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my main screen here for where my map world is. I'm going to select my landscape, okay? And selecting it over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to scroll down until I see my landscape material. Go to my content drawer, go and find my materials. And my material instance that I created for Aspen is right here. I'm going to select, drag, and drop that in there, okay? And not much is going to happen. All right, so now we've got that in there. Absolutely nothing got filled in. And that's what's going to happen, all right? So what we want to do is we're going to select our landscape. Actually, we're going to go up here to selection mode. We're going to go landscape in selection mode. And we're going to go into paint, okay? And when we select paint right up here, so landscape mode, under landscape tab, paint, you should see all of your materials that you put in here down here at the bottom, okay? So what we need to do is over on the right hand side, there's a plus. So I'm gonna hit the plus symbol and we're gonna do weighted blend normal for the top one. It's gonna ask you where you want us to go. I'm gonna put it here in the suggested folder, shared assets. I'm gonna hit save, okay? And it'll start to populate some stuff on there. I'm going to do the next one. Same thing, grass. I'm going to save that. Okay. And then for rock, weighted blend again. Okay, for mud, we're also going to do weighted blend. For path, weighted blend, because we're actually going to want to, what's going to happen is when we use weighted blend, it blends them in until it gets to the point where it removes. So it removes a little bit of the other material until you paint it enough and it removes all the material and it supersedes it with the new one. And then with snow, I'm actually going to do a non-weighted layer for this one, a non-weight layer, just to kind of show how that works. And I'm going to go ahead and save that as well. Okay, so now if we take a look, it looks like just the one texture is on here. All right? And that's what it is, just the one. So what we need to do is we're going to go back to any one of these, and if you click on it and then right click, we're going to go to import from export to file. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to import in our various height maps that we made. Okay, so right here where it says layers, we're going to hit the down arrow, and it has these 7 elements. This top one, ignore that one. All right, so what we're going to need to do is it's going to say import from original. We'll see how this works. We may have to go in and re-import that height map. But we know that we're going to want to use the height maps for the dirt, the grass, and the rock. These other ones we did not create height maps for them because we're going to use them to paint. So I'm going to select the arrow, little checkbox here, and select dirt, grass, and rock. And then the little 3 buttons next to dirt. I'm going to click on that. And we need to go and find our project that we made. Okay. And those height maps that we put in here. So the top one is dirt. So I'm going to select dirt and say open. Okay. And then I'm going to select the next one. That one's grass. I'm going to select that one. I'm going to say open. And then for rock, same thing. Say open. All right. And now we're going to see if we can import. Okay. And if we get this error, that's because we need to put in the height map back in. So I'm going to say cancel, and it's going to pop up 3 times for each one of those. So up here, I'm going to select the little checkbox, hit the little 3 dots. I'm going to select my height map again. I'm going to say open. And now we're going to import. And we should get material. Okay. So now we've got some grass layer. Okay. We've got our rock layer, and we've got my dirt layer. Okay. So we may want to play around with the scaling of some of these things. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to go back to selection mode, okay, for the moment. And I'm going to go back to my material instance. I'm going to just pull this off of here. And and actually because of the scale, this one didn't come out too bad, but the dirt, it kind of looks a little large to me there. So I'm just going to show you how this is supposed to work. Let me make this big enough. So where we did our adjust tile, all right? So for my dirt, I'm going to open that one up. And if we change this number right here, down, 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 you can see that off in the distance, it changes the way this appears. So you can kind of play with that until you get the look that you want. And then the closer one right here, which I think it actually looks pretty decent, but I'm going to go down just to demonstrate it. I'm going to find my tiling for my dirt. And say I wanted this to be larger, right? So if I put 1 in here, for example, see how much bigger it makes that now? Don't really like the way that looks, of course. So I'm going to go back down to 5. The default seems to be working okay for this scale. But that's what these are for. You can go in and play with any one of them. The rock, we might want the rock to look a little bit bigger and have more definition at a distance. When we get closer to it, start to see the definition in the rock kind of come out. All right, so let me move this out of the way. And if we go up from the air, we can kind of see how everything scales and how it looks. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. Now, let's kind of play around with some of this other stuff and see how this works, all right? And right here, you can kind of see that the grass is kind of funky. This is the close right here, and further away, the grass looks a little bigger. I'm not sure I really like that. So again, go back up to adjust the grass, and we can bring this number down until we kind of get the look that we want for it. Okay, there we go. All right, so now what I want to try to do is see if we can actually paint our materials, okay? So right in here, maybe I want to put a path in, a dirt path, or maybe a large dirt opening area. So I'm going to hit the down arrow, and I am going to go back to landscape, and I'm going to select paint up here at the top, okay? I'm going to select path, and I should be able to paint it on here, okay? So as I start to paint across here, you can see that the path, and I may have to play around with the tiling on it, but now what it's doing is it's changed it from the grass ground that I had to the path, okay? It's a little harder to tell because there's not a lot of difference, but if I go with mud and I change my brush down a little bit, my scale, my size of my brush, as I start to paint that, you can see that the mud will start to go over the top of that. So I have these 3 different materials all occupying the same space. And say I wanted perhaps the top of my mountains to have snow. Now this one we did a little bit differently. What's going to happen with the snow is it's actually going to put the snow on top of the material that's here. So it's going to add to it, sort of like additive. So it won't take away the texture appearance here, okay? But as I start to paint it, you can kind of see that the rock is still visible through it, but we've got this new texture over the top of it, okay? And kind of paint that on there. And again, we can also play around with, in your material instances, you can kind of play around with the way these are coming out for your tiling. So for my snow, for example, I'm going to change my snow to like 2, just to sort of show how that affects it. It's kind of hard to tell because it's so white in color, but you can kind of see that I have this windswept snow, and as I paint that over the top of my rocks, now we get that effect, okay? And we can paint as much of the mountains as we want. We could also created an alpha map to do that as well, so that it would automatically populate. But when you do that, you lose a little bit of control on the way the material is going to fall. And I also kind of wanted the rock appearance underneath it. So yeah, there's going to be some painting, but what we could do is get some altitude here. Change the size of my brush. And just start painting. Okay, and get that snow down in there. So get the large areas in first, and then just kind of, once you kind of get the look that you're going for, and kind of get up towards the edge, and you can play around with the fall off on it, increase the fall off, just sort of, you know, kind of just sprinkle it on in there like that. Okay. And you can just kind of play around with it till you get the look that you're going for with the snow. Okay. And again, once you get all this set up, if you don't like the textures, they're easy enough to replace. You just go back in, find the one that you're not happy with, find a new material you like, just change them out in here, and hit save. Everything will update. All right, so that ought to keep you busy for a little bit. We go ahead and wrap this one up. I think this video has been going on long enough. So again, if you have any questions, issues, problems, you can put them down here in the comments section. I usually try to keep track of any of those issues that pop up as quickly as possible. It may take me a few days sometimes based on what's going on around me, but for the most part, I get back to you eventually within a week or so. All right, again, if you liked what you saw, please like my video here, my channel, like the video, subscribe, help me out by subscribing, and I will see you next time. And then next time, we're actually going to go ahead and add some procedural foliage to our landscape so that it automatically fills in the grass and the shrubs and things like that, like we saw in the demo video at the very beginning. All right, so thanks again, and I will see you next time.